We've got to see both these players, for that matter, on these streams. So no stranger to this stage of competition and important matches. Again, this is a match that I wouldn't have expected to see until day 2 at minimum earlier. And with the way the system works, they can still play again on the second day of competition if both are to progress through. And now that we have our headsets on, I want to talk about these decks. This is my favorite deck from this tournament. It's a very different, it could be actually a very similar list to what Frank was playing, I believe. A lot of these cards are the same 60. They've been working on this from what I had heard and sort of...
I think it was more of a situation of Frank had the deck and Daniel saw the deck and was like, oh, this is insane. Yeah, I have to play this. Yeah, so Daniel, I know, is, I think, had very few games coming into this tournament with actually playing the deck. But it's honestly pretty straightforward. You've got a pretty linear strategy and a lot of disruption cards. And there have been many cards similar to the Whimsicott V-Star in the past. So if you've played that type of deck in the past, even though it's kind of a new face with Whimsicott, you still kind of understand the general past strategies. So we've got the Whimsicott V-Star from Daniel, and on the right, Rahul is going to be playing Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, a list that a group of American players has brought. I know Isaiah Bradner's on this same list, Michael Slutsky, Justin Bukhari. These guys are all really confident in how strong this deck is.
Yeah, Rahul rocking that American armband, a classic signature on stream as we get our prize cards out.
Ooh, 2 Whimsicott V-Star. That's not great. Daniel plays 3 copies, so as long as you can take a quick knockout, both of those V-Stars were at the bottom of the prizes, so shouldn't be too big of an issue, but that'll certainly be something of concern during the first deck search for Daniel.
Yeah, both these players, I'm sure, will be aware and look at what these prize cards are going to be. It feels like Whimsicott has had the worst prize luck so far on stream. We had Frank prizing
not destined to be right now.
Vs the first turn, then I mean, it kind of just seems to be what's happening as we're all getting set up, we're getting ready to go, and yeah, I mean, Rahul's been rocking this this Rapid Strike deck so far. It's not the same as the European list. It's not playing something like the Snorlax that we see as a key card to set up right away. So there are a few differences here, and notably, a card that we haven't seen a lot is that Mew from our 25th anniversary set, able to look at the top 6 cards of your deck and choose any item card you find there. So not necessarily as powerful, something like a Stellar Wish Jirachi in its time, because Jirachi was one less card, but it was to be any trainer card. Mew, however, is still good, especially during the early turns of the game, to finding those key pivot cards, and as well as being a very solid pivot mon in general, you are more than happy to scoop up net or play a Bird Keeper into it, utilize that ability, and continue to progress your board, as we see right off the bat here. You can see Daniel go ahead and quick ball away that Fan of Waves. Gonna grab a basic out of the deck. And I like this play normally against a special energy deck, right? You want to have those around, but I think Daniel understands that if Rahul's going to be playing down these Rapid Strike energy, it's most likely to just G-Max Rapid Flow and get rid of it so it doesn't get disrupted.
Certainly, and Rahul also only plays 3 Rapid Strike energies, so it's more likely that the first energy attachment would be a basic energy. I'm actually really interested to see how this matchup would play out. On paper, I guess you would maybe think it is favored for Whimsicott, since Rapid Strike Urshifu is pretty reliant on the Rapid Strike energy. Rahul actually only plays 1 basic fighting energy, I'm realizing, so that could be an issue. I know most of the Europeans that are playing the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, they're playing at least 2 and sometimes even 3 basic fighting energies. So that can be your option to still get off a Gale Thrust whenever your opponent gets up the Whimsicott attack. Of course, the Trick Wind, limiting you from putting special energies in play. So we will see if Rahul can navigate this with only 1 basic fighting energy in the deck.
And big find there. Double Turbo Energy will set up that Trick Wind online for the next turn, costing a Psychic and 2 colorless, so works great with that Double Turbo Energy, as we will see that Mysterious Tail right off the bat. And look how solid this ability is, able to find multiple item cards like that Quick Ball, what you want to see on that first turn of the game. there are several options to work with. Even has the Evolution Incense, so makes me wonder what is in hand here. And it looks like there is going to be a Keep Calling play this turn. Has the switching out, has the Quick Ball, already has a Sobble in hand. And we are actually also going to see the Hoopa get fanned to the top of the deck. That is a great attacker that does not require a special energy to deal damage, and can set up math as Whimsicott V-Star only has 250 health points.
Yeah, it takes a bit to get there. You need to 3-hit KO a Whimsicott with Hoopa, and Hoopa gets KO'd right away in return with the Trick Win. So doesn't quite work out, but if Daniel doesn't find a V-Star on the next turn, you actually could threaten a 2-hit knockout theoretically.
Yeah, wow, look at all
with
these
some of the modifiers in this list.
Yeah, absolutely. He also has the level ball to find that Sobble out of the deck, and this is where this deck starts to take off. You've got the Keep Calling on your first turn. You have the pivoting option. You can start to grab these Rapid Strike Urshifus, but I feel like you really want to make sure your board is established instead of benching down this Psychic Weep 2-prize Pokemon. The VMAX, however, will not take a 1-hit KO in response from the Whimsicott. On top of having 330 HP, you are having that reduced damage as well, as we are actually also going to see the Escape Rope play instead is going to go ahead and take the knockout with the Hoopa. Getting rid of that Bidoof, taking a prize card instead of going after that play, was already able to get down 2 Sobble, so felt pretty comfortable putting on some aggression. As action is back on Finn, Daniel Lynch here, we'll see exactly what he's got to work with. Has it looks like that Avery in hand, potentially? Oh, no, it's an EXP share, my bad. So, has a few options to work with. Does at least have the Bibarrel, so can draw some more cards. And it looks like even considering playing the Ordinary Rod just for that Bidoof to get it back in, really just valuing the draw cards that come from this Bibarrel line.
I think that's the situation here is Daniel's like, I'm not getting great value from this Ordinary Rod, but I need to draw cards. I need to find a supporter. I need to find a Whimsicott and a basic Psychic Energy or a Horror Psychic Energy. Either of those things will allow Daniel to start swinging right away. Debating putting this EXP share into play. It doesn't make the most sense to put on the active, but it does draw you 1 more card. So I think it's a good decision to put it in play, even though you're not going to get great value from it just because you need to draw. And actually has Peony in hand. Very interesting supporter in this list. You discard your hand, and you search your deck for 2 trainer cards, which is going to work out excellently here in combination with Bibarel in play.
I think this card and Rose in specific, 2 cards that require you to discard your hand as the effect, have become a lot stronger now that Bibarel is a very solid card.
Definitely.
Able to fill your hand back up. Really, before this, we had to rely on Cricketune to get, a maximum of 4 cards if it was in the active spot. And it was also a 2-prize card as well, as Fog Crystal and Evolution Incense will grab the Whimsicott V-Star and the Psychic Energy, and this is an excellent spot here for Daniel. Has the knockout onto the Hoopa, prevents any tool cards or special energies, and not even done with the turn yet. Has 5 cards off that Industrious and Scissors, filling the hand up to 5, and has even more stuff to work with. Can get down another Whimsicott to eventually power that up and evolve it the following turn. Things are looking excellent here. I have to say that Daniel's got to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, definitely a solid spot, and it's going to be up to Rahul to navigate how to find a way back into this one. It could be a situation where Rahul just wants to feed prizes to power up the Galarian Moltres to eventually come in and attack. Rahul does play 2 copies of that Galarian Moltres, which is very important in this situation where you can only use these basic energies because your Rapid Strike energies just aren't able to be attached.
You gotta do something maybe to build the hand up so you can start stringing those together with Clara to be able to just consistently put those back.
Yep.
Is also playing Training Court as well, which is a very interesting stadium inclusion. We usually see that be something like the Tower of Waters, but instead opting for the Training Court instead as a pivoting option, instead of a Tower of Waters for pivoting. It's a good way to, again, consistently get back the 3 energy you need, 2 from Clara, 1 from the Training Court. You get back the Galarian Moltres and you apply pressure, but has access to Mysterious Tail, has access to Evolution Incense, a lot of options to work with. Looks like starting things off with a Drizzile Shady Dealings, how we've seen a lot of these turns start off for Chip.
Yeah, seems like the play whenever you get a bunch of Sobbles in play turn 1 is to try to get a bunch of Drizziles on turn 2. Shady Dealings getting any trainer card from the deck and putting them into hand. And it's great for consistency like this, finding Professor's Research, which will allow Rahul to discard the hand and draw 7 new cards. Because I don't think there's much going on in this current hand. I believe those last 2 cards are Palpad and Metacham V. Not going to be super great in this matchup. It feels a little bad to discard the Palpad, but sometimes it's just what you have to do.
Yeah, the more I'm thinking about this, the more I realize how tough this is for Rahul as well. I mean, at the point, you can go down to a low prize count, but even then, it's not like you're taking 3 prizes every turn. You have to knock out 2 Pokemon. You have to knock out 3 V-Star Pokemon. And until then, I mean, you can chip away at it a little bit with Hoopa if you get that back with something like a Clara. Besides that, not much going on. And this hand, too, does not look great. It looks like clunked up with 3 energies. Has access, though, to this Mysterious Tail. And there's some good options there. Quick Ball's going to be great at finding a basic out of the deck. Something like that Galarian Moltres could be good now because there are already the 2 dark there. But usually when you're playing that down, you would like to be attacking with it. Otherwise, Boss's Orders would be a prime target on such a high-value Pokemon.
Rahul does grab it, though. Malevolent Charge can accelerate 2 energies onto the Moltres. And Fiery Wrath is a really strong attack in the late game. In the early game, it's really just not doing that much. It deals 20 base damage and then 50 more for each prize card your opponent has taken. So in this instance, you're only dealing 70 damage, which is just is really not enough. It's not nearly enough. And this is a big opening for Daniel.
He just has to pass things back over. We'll have to see if Daniel can find one of those 2 Boss's Orders in the deck. Already has the Whimsicott V-Star drawn off that bottom prize that was taken last turn, and I don't think really wants to see any more of them, but it will most likely be the next prize that is drawn. As we do also see the double turbo energy come down. Nothing yet, just thinking through the options. This is where you really want to find Boss's Orders because most of the high-value prizes that you will be taking, as long as you're locking them out of the game will end one way or another. If it's a turn or 2 later, as long as you're winning, it's not as valuable, it's not as important. As we see, maybe just trying to consider whether or not it looks like a Crobat and a Whimsicott in the hand. So I think really the decision is, do I want to dig with this Crobat here to draw more cards? The downside is it is Crobat against Urshifu VMAX, Rapid Strike, maybe the worst Pokemon to put into play against this deck, as we will see the Industrious Incisors come into play. And actually looking at the Whimsicott does have that V-Star power that can deal 60 damage for every energy attached to it to any Pokemon in play. But it just doesn't make sense to me to give up the Trick Wind lock that you already have going at that point. I mean, Moltres will do 50 more damage, but at that point, it doesn't really seem like it's worth it.
Yeah, in this instance, it's probably not worth it to use the Fluffball Star, but it can be a really strong option to close a game out. If there's a 2 prize Pokemon on Rahul's bench, that's how you can finish a game without having to play Boss's Orders, because it really can just deal so much damage.
There are a lot of Rapid Strike energy in this hand that cannot be played, and I think Rahul is just deciding I should hold on to these just in case I can use them, but at the same time you have to discard some pieces like Cheryl and some other cards, and in this case Cheryl is not the worst discard to get rid of, but again, you have to really decide with your resources, what do I value? I can't play these cards now, but is it worth trying to go around and how I would usually play this to try to keep and preserve these resources. But Level Ball going to go ahead and almost certainly find the Drizzile. I believe there is a Dark Energy in the discard pile from that Hoopa before that was knocked out. So that means with that Training Court in hand, Galarian Moltres will have the pieces necessary to at least swing and hit this Whimsicott. However, it's not currently setting up for a 2-hit knockout. However, if this gets knocked out and Clara is played, that math will add up, as it is only dealing 120 damage this turn, will deal 170 the following turn.
Eyeing up a scoop-up net here, potentially. Off of this Shady Dealings, you could reset one of these Drizziles on the bench. Level Ball could find another Sobble, potentially, to become a different Drizzile next turn. Clara, also not a bad option, but it looks, Rahul's really choosing between 3 different things here that he potentially wants to take.
That's the value of options, right? Yeah, you got plenty of things to look at. As
will choose to go with the Level Ball and gets another Sobble down, and this means that a scoop-up net next turn becomes another way to continue to draw cards.
Absolutely. The more lines you got, the more trainers you can search out. So has the Trading Court. no-brainer, wants to go ahead and attack with that Galarian Moltres. There's the 3 energy. Have to imagine looking for a Clara the following turn, but you got to take it one turn at a time, especially against a slow-paced deck like Whimsicott. And there's the 120 damage onto this active Whimsicott. And this is an interesting line. Daniel has a lot of options to work with. You don't necessarily have to lead us in the active, but I think it really just comes down to how far can he dig through the deck, potentially maybe get out another Bidoof, potentially. Also
I think Daniel definitely wants to replace the stadium here as well, if he's able to, because giving Rahul access to Training Court turn over turn with Galarian Moltres just means that it's going to be really easy to stream these attacks together back to back to back.
Yeah, Marnie's going to go ahead and disrupt the hand a little bit for Rahul. 4 new cards. Definitely some very solid cards there in the 4. Already has the Clara.
Yes.
No way to search out any Inteleon pieces, but honestly, you'd rather just have the pieces in your hand instead
As a scoop-up net, though, and with that Sobble being benched, now that's an out as well.
It is an out as well, indeed. We see the EXP share setting up. Did go ahead and commit the double turbo energy to that 3rd Whimsicott on the bench. A nice, beautiful, full art Whimsicott. It's a Pokemon that's received a lot of love, and I'm happy that it has received a lot of love, and we're seeing on stage a cool Pokemon, and it sees place in here and also in the video game as a cool Pokemon as well. So Whimsicott is everywhere. You can't run from it. So turn not over yet, though. Has Quick Ball, can go ahead and discard some pieces. Continue to get set up. I have to imagine you really don't need to put anything else in the play. It would just be to thin some stuff out. Boss in hand as well, but you really want to take care of the main threat on board, it seems. So it looks like actually going to opt to get rid of that Avery as Rahul is being smart about not overbenching, aware that card could be a possibility, and now sees that it is, and I'm sure will continue to play as bench passive as he has been.
Yeah, not too big of a deal. If Daniel had played an Avery, I think Rahul would just pretty easily have discarded the Mew and been okay with that. Keeping your Sobble around and, of course, your 2 Drizziles seems pretty good whenever Inteleon is an option for you with Shady Dealings. So wouldn't have been too big of a deal, so Daniel's just going to discard it and try to find something else to work with.
It looks like just finishing out the turn, thinning out the deck a little bit, thinning out the hand more so. Don't believe grabbed anything there off that Quick Ball, so just wants to go ahead and grab some more pieces, hopefully off of this Industrious Incisors. Has yet another Bidoof, hopefully try to set up.
The gang is all here.
The triple Industrious Incisors. There's the first B-Barrel. Going to go ahead and draw up to 5 cards in hand. 4 new ones coming in there for Daniel. You really just accomplished already what you want this turn. There's not much more you need, but getting rid of pieces you don't want to see, finding stuff for the following turn. It's going to be pretty simple here for Daniel. I think he just understands that as long as I can continuously attack, and I will inevitably win the prize trade, hopefully, because my opponent is not able to get off those powerful attacks that this whole deck surrounds around in Rapid Flow, in Yoga Loop, in G-Max Rap, a lot of different attacks that are so easy, especially when you're playing lower counts of basic energy, because you're really relying on the special energies to allow you to complete your strategy.
Daniel's going to discard a Crushing Hammer here. Could be a nice thing to have access to later on, but right now it doesn't really matter at all since you're knocking out the only energies in play with a Trick Wind attack this coming turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And able to get another Barrel down, so we're going to see even more card
Some
draw.
more Incisors coming in.
Like Fusion Strike system all over again. It feels like.
Yeah. This is like, you know, Octillery was considered the budget shaman. Does that mean that Bibarel is now budget Fusion Strike system?
Is it the budget Genesect?
Yeah.
I would say so. I think that's a fair assessment. But there's a knockout there. We are going to see that. Going to go ahead and go down to 3 prize cards. And
those prizes are just tough for Rahul. The Shady Dealings Inteleon and that second Galarian Moltres. It's seeming pretty tough. Rahul can get off an attack here with the Energy Search. It has Training Court, has Clara in hand. So you can reset up the Moltres and get a knockout here. Take 2 prize cards. And that might be what Rahul, well, debating on getting that scoop up net or not. We'll go ahead and take it. And now just needs to play the Clara, get the Moltres back, has that Training Court as well, and can use Energy Search to get an energy out of the deck, potentially, in addition to whatever may be grabbed.
Could last one, right?
Could hold off on using Training Court in this instance, I suppose.
Yeah, it looks like that could be that is the last basic energy in the deck. So maybe wanting to save Training Core. You do technically, if it sticks, get more usages out of it if you do play it down this turn.
I think Rahul is considering all the options here and maybe is considering conceding at this point just because you're getting a good look at what's left in the deck and think it may not be that likely. But whatever Rahul saw in the deck makes him believe that there's a reasonable chance to win this game. And so because of that, going to keep playing it out, grabs Evolution Incense to get Inteleon set up.
Yeah, has that quick shooting Inteleon. It's going to start dealing damage over time. Maybe you want to target down one of those weaker Bidoof or Bibarel on the bench, or if you want to start applying more pressure to this Whimsicott, you will be dealing 220 damage on your 4 prize turn coming up. So 2 pings to a Whimsicott will set that up in range to be knocked out. However, if Daniel can just evolve the other one or go with the other Pokemon, then you sort of play around that option and you don't give rule that out. However, you could also get a double ping turn with something like a Scoop Net. So there are plenty of options to work with. We do see the Clara going to go ahead and grab back the Hoopa and the Galarian Moltres, as well as 2 Dark Energy. Malevolent Charge going to go ahead and throw those on. And we see the Fiery Wrath is going to be able to take a knockout, but not before putting that quick shooting on that Whimsicott VMAX, or excuse me, V-Star. And we'll see Rahul take those prizes. Also not able to draw into another Moltres, Galarian Moltres. That could be very nice to string with it. You necessarily don't have to find another Clara, or you get another usage out of it. But at this point, yeah, it seems that Daniel is in a very strong position, especially if there is the VMAX there. And now, again, you play around that play of a turn. You now force Rahul to have another scoop-up net in order to make this play work. And the Clara, it just seems like a lot to ask for. And on top of that, it's still tricky.
Rahul does have a reasonable route here. And I think the play for Rahul is going to be to... next turn, bench Hoopa, and Boss's orders the Bidoof on the bench. It has 70 hit points, so it would be knocked out by an Assault Gate pretty easily. Daniel's going to take a knockout here, and then if Daniel knocks out the Hoopa on the next turn, goes down to just 1 prize card remaining, and if Rahul can get the Moltres off the prizes and get enough energy cards into hand, Fiery Wrath can pick up an easy 1-hit knockout on that Whimsicott. So it needs to get the Moltres out of the prizes in order to make that happen, but it is lined up as the next potential prize card Rahul would take.
Yeah, I have to see the list to see how many the Clara are in there. I believe there is just the 1 in that deck.
And did discard the Pal Pad earlier on.
Oh, did discard the Pal Pad. So yeah, that's kind of where things get tough. You really have to have this Training Court stick for a few turns.
Right.
But with Daniel playing multiple copies of
I wonder if Rahul had put it into play last turn and Daniel missed the Training Court replacement on the next turn. Like, does that get enough of those energy cards in hand? Because that's a good point. You do, even though Rahul would have the Pokemon to make it happen, it's about getting the energy at that point, and there would be a lot of energy cards in the discard pile.
Yeah, luckily it did get 1 off the prize cards, so there is 1 more there, but that still doesn't mean that Training Court... Plus, you have to remember...
You have to attack with the Hoopa, too.
As well,
right.
So, I think Rahul just going to play to the outs.
Raihan is an option as well, though. We have to remember that. Raihan can get 1 more back.
That's true. You can maybe go charge for 1 and then Raihan.
And then attach.
That's pretty cool, yeah. So there's a lot of options here for Moltres. You usually just don't see the Raihan onto the Moltres because it's very easy to power it up with the energies. And we are going to see, it looks like, the knockout on to that Moltres. Daniel going to go down to just 2 prize cards remaining to Rahul's 3. This means that 220 damage is the math right now on Fiery Wrath. It is dealing not quite enough to knock out a Whimsicott. But with a few Inteleon pings, it is possible, but starting to turn off strong. There's that Shady Dealings. Going to grab 2 trainer cards out of the deck, and this is the play you were talking about here. Eyeing up the boss's orders to take this knockout on with the Hoopa because that Bidoof was unable to evolve. Daniel maybe getting punished for trying to get another Bibarel to play, but not able to complete that evolution line.
Actually only plays the 3, too. I think the reason Daniel benched this Bidoof is just to draw more cards with Industrious Incisors, which makes sense, but it is a little risky. Rahul is going to also get Peonia in the hand as an option to guarantee the Moltres out of the prizes, potentially. We know that if Rahul just takes the prize in the normal way, that Moltres should be the next prize grabbed. So I wonder if Rahul will go for the Peonia this turn, or will it be that Boss's Orders play that we talked about?
Yeah, and the ability to scoop up net this Shady Dealings Inteleon means you get to reuse it the next turn. It'll be the same thing with the quick shooting as well, but we are going to see that get scoop up netted. I have to check. I think that's 3 net down, so I think there's still 1 left.
Actually does only play 3
only
copies
3,
in this list. Yeah, so whenever you're trying to fit stuff in, make some changes to people's lists, sometimes those consistency cards like the scoop up nets end up being the cuts, and that seems to be the case here for Rahul in this testing group.
And 1 pivoting option left in the deck. That air balloon is still in there. We saw it a few times off of that mysterious tail.
Has the escape rope been played yet? That's 1 more technically, but...
I think I saw... Oh, the escape rope got played the first turn, so the Hoopa Assault Gates. So.
That's right, that's right.
It is no longer an option, but this is what you want for Rahul. You're playing, you're out. You are already only almost 25 minutes here into game number 1, so you are really banking off this strategy working, especially at being at a 5-1 record. So.
Yeah, Rahul can definitely win this game, but it is going to be close. And Daniel's just going to keep doing his thing. There's really no outstanding plays that Daniel can make. It's just kind of playing your game straightforward, doing what you're meant to do, and it's going to be up to Rahul if Rahul has it or not. And there it is, Moltres drawn off the prizes, hitting the hand. I'm sure Rahul is very relieved to see that.
Exactly what you want to see. Sometimes simple is the way, right? And that's kind of the way that this Whimsicott deck operates. I detach my energies, I attack, and I draw some cards with the people roll. No complex strategies like we see Rahul planning out these turns in advance and trying to get the exact pieces needed as... there's the knockout on the Bidoof. Rahul going down to 2 prize cards remaining.
And Daniel saw Rahul grab the Peonia off of the Shady Dealings last turn, so I wonder, Daniel, I mean, this is a closed deck list, right? Players don't know exactly what one another has, so maybe they're thinking, what is Rahul trying to fish out of those prizes? What could this other card be? But that's a huge drop. Getting rid of that training court is going to be 1 less energy card Rahul can get to hand.
Yeah, can't stress that enough. That could be the key that Rahul needed of that stadium sticking. And the path to peak being found there means that's 1 less energy Rahul has to work with the next turn. I only see 1 in hand so far. So this is where things get
I don't know if Rahul has another energy to make this work or not. I think that there's just the 1 basic darkness in the hand. I don't think there was any in the deck. I'm not 100% sure. But if that's the case, then I don't think Rahul can even attack again this game.
Yeah, I think grabbing the Peonia to ensure the Moltres is found, but I feel like at this point when it's such a risky strategy you're going for, like, would it have been worth to maybe grab something like the Raihan, right, to guarantee...
No, I think, I mean, you're going to scoop up net your Intellion, so you'll still have access to it this coming turn. So
it just depends on how many pieces are needed for this combo, but I'm sure Rahul's thought this out, puts in a lot of time to these decks, understands what is needed to be done. And in this situation against such a weird matchup, right, where your main strategy is thwarted, you can't do anything you want. He's been playing very
I can't imagine that Rahul tested against Whimsicott before this tournament, and if he did somehow, it definitely wasn't this list. So there's things that are definitely, Rahul's trying to learn a little bit on the fly, and this is, like you mentioned, becoming a very long game 1, which is very much a factor, and that is a big Marnie from Daniel. It's going to put not only the Moltres on the bottom of the deck, but also that Intellion that Rahul just used Scoop Net on, and Rahul sees the hand and says, it's wraps, I can't do anything, let's go to game 2.
That's so unfortunate as well that took that long, and now we're going into game 2. Daniel going to go ahead and go up 1-0. You saw as soon as the cards weren't there in hand, they just didn't have the pieces necessary to search everything out. The exact response needed. Coming here with Whimsicott. You love to see it, Jeff.
I know Daniel is really trying to make a deep run at this event. After getting 2nd place in Salt Lake City, it's obviously amazing to get 2nd place, but being so close to victory and coming up just short always feels a little bad as a competitor. So Daniel wants to make another deep run to really prove himself. And, you know, I mean, it's known by many players Daniel is a great one. And Whimsicott, showing up with Whimsicott is definitely a little bit of a spicy decision, and it's paid off greatly for Daniel thus far.
Yeah, Daniel, both these players, no strangers to the game by any means, and I think Daniel was saying, like, I'm going to bring something good. I'm going to bring something good to this event. Came up with something a little bit unorthodox.
Yep.
It's paying off. People weren't ready for this deck. People weren't respecting this by any means. It wasn't on anyone's radar. It wasn't, I don't know about you, it wasn't on my radar for...
Yeah, an Arceus Whimsicott deck, I think, made top 8 in Sao Paulo, so people had kind of, like, registered, okay, this is a card that people are trying to make work. Obviously, this list is vastly different from something that includes Arceus, so a lot of disruption, a lot of decks that are, especially against Arceus decks that are reliant on getting an energy in play on their Arceus on turn 1. They can have a really tough time against Crushing Hammer and Fan of Waves. So Whimsicott makes sense as a good meta call, though it is definitely not something that was the most expected thing.
No, not by any means. And as we get into game 2, I mean, Rahul played to that out. Is there any other route you see, or do you think it really just comes down again to maybe putting on some more pressure to start things off? Or
well,
I just want your thoughts on that.
Let's remember that Rahul had to discard Palpad really early on in the game. If Palpad was still in the deck, those are some tough prizes real quick.
Yeah.
The 2 Drizziles, that is not something you'll love to see, but with a couple at the bottom, maybe won't be the worst. But by discarding Palpad early on, that meant Rahul does not have the option to reuse the Clara. And reusing Clara can be a way to just make a whole nother Moltres, which is really strong. Both of these players did prize a Stadium card, which is certainly relevant. Those training courts are very important for Rahul, as we talked about in game number 1. And right away, it seems like Rahul's quick-balling away. I believe that is a Rapid Strike Urshifu, recognizing, hey, I'm not putting this Psychic Week 3 prizer in play. Let's just get that in the discard pile right now.
No, not by any means. Game number 2 between Daniel Lynch and Rahul Reddy. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We are all set, already eyeing up that Mew to the top of the deck. With that Mysterious Tail to try to get set up early. It is a great ability to use, opting to play that instead of something like the Snorlax early on in the game, and just as in general as a good pivoting option as well. We've seen that was used several times in game 1 and really allowed Rahul to find the pieces necessary to continuously evolve into these Drizziles, to find the other trainer cards out of the deck. This is what you want to see. Wow, looks like 2 Rapid Strike Energy is actually going to commit the energy to the Sobble to retreat, and this is a pretty big Mysterious Tail. I said Level Ball in there, so at minimum that means you can get another Sobble out, and it looks like that will be the grab. And look, Sobble's in the 5 cards.
Sobble was there as well, yeah.
Good time shortcut, and it could actually be relevant here, because again, we took a pretty long game 1, 25-minute game 1. Rahul's got to find, and this seems like a very long matchup though, so Rahul's got to find a way to put on aggression and hopefully at minimum try to force this to a tie, but both these players are obviously trying to get that win so they don't have to worry about that win later.
Rahul had to discard a Rapid Strike Energy, which normally feels like such a bad thing to have to do, using a Rapid Strike Energy to retreat. But it just so happens in this matchup, Rapid Strike Energies are a very expendable resource, because once that Trick Wind is up and running, they're going to be useless cards anyway, so might as well use them early while you can.
Absolutely, and it looks like eyeing up a few other options. Has the Bird Keeper in hand for the following turn. Looks like just going to go ahead and pass things back over. Fog Crystal, a great way to start things off here for Daniel. Going to be able to find that Whimsicott V out of the deck. Beautiful, nice, shiny full art. As it looks like, just prize checking as per usual. If you're ever playing the Pokemon trading card game, prize checking at a competition at a level like this is necessary if you want to play the best you can. And I'm sure Daniel has prize checked hundreds of thousands of times throughout his career. He's no stranger to knowing how to prize check quickly. That is, again, a skill that comes with time. And more importantly, it also comes with knowing your deck. So maybe with a deck list that you're not as familiar with the exact counts of, maybe not as strong as maybe he would be with something like Suicune that I know he put a lot of hours and time into.
So Daniel wants to find a Whimsicott and get an energy attached to it right away. That way you can threaten the turn 2 Trick Wind. If you don't get an energy drop on your Whimsicott, it becomes very unlikely that you'll get off. I mean, it's actually impossible that you'll get off a Trick Wind on turn 2. And then that just gives Rahul more time to establish a field where Rahul feels like there's a way to get back into this matchup that does feel a little tough at this point after watching how game 1 played out.
Yeah, perfect cards to start off, though. Gets the quick ball to find another Bidoof. Has the Whimsicott as well. Throwing them both down on the board.
Just needing an energy.
There's a energy and a supporter card.
Boom.
There's double turbo. Exactly what you need to get things rolling. And it looks like I see another double turbo in there and a... Can't tell if that's an Avery. It looks like an Avery to me, but I'm not quite sure. It looks like a research and a barrel in hand. So wants to just get rid of that. I think that play is fine. Maybe there's some weird random world where the Whimsicott gets knocked. I don't think so with the cards here, with that being a possibility. But I think just wants to find more cards this turn. Understands, hey, there's a high chance one of my Bidoof gets knocked out anyways this turn for something like an Assault Gate, right? So able to at least do exactly that, right? Gets another Whimsicott down, even has some Crushing Hammers to go forward. Not the most useful card, as mostly everything that Rahul will play down in this matchup will just be immediately knocked out, but it's always fun to flip some coins, and you're on stream too, right? Might as well test your luck.
Absolutely. Hey, you know, go for it. Why not? You love to see it. Daniel can, of course, put that Bibarel back into the deck later on with the Ordinary Rod. We saw Ordinary Rod being played in game number 1, so losing it does feel a little bad, especially when your hand size was going to be pretty low. I think that's what Daniel was debating, was like, do I just hold on to this so I can get the guaranteed Bibarel? But discarding it seems okay as well.
Yeah, that is a great grab there off the Mysterious Tail. The air balloon, consistent pivot for the rest of the game. I don't think there's a world where Daniel will ever go out of his way to target down this Mew with something like a Boss's Orders, and has to just kind of respect that it's a free pivoter for the rest of the game. Not the biggest of his problems whatsoever, as we do see the Shady Dealings come down after that Evolution Incense. It looks like eyeing up what appears to be a quick ball there off of that Shady Dealings.
Probably going to want to go for the Hoopa attack this turn, I would imagine. Has the Energy Search in hand, so that can guarantee getting all the pieces you need to Assault Gate for a pretty quick one-prize KO.
Yeah, it looks like just saying, I'm not going to be playing any of these Rapid Strike energies at any point during this game. So they're pretty much just discard fodder because, well, they're not playable. And that is the exact play. And actually using the scoop up net pretty early, but you kind of need to here in order to get another trainer out of the deck. It looks like is going to go ahead and find a research, it looks like, for this turn potentially. I believe there's only 1 or 2 other cards left in deck. So we'll be able to dig through, find some more pieces, and getting rid of a Bird Keeper. Again, when you're not attacking with Rapid Strike Urshifu, all it really is just a draw 3, and maybe you get an extra item card off of something like the Mysterious Tail. We'll see what the grabs are. Does find another Sobble. May just bench the 1 Sobble because he does know Avery as a card, but no, actually just going to go ahead and bench both Sobbles here. And really just valuing maybe an explosive next turn.
Yeah, this could be a great turn for Daniel to play Avery. Since Rahul put that other Sobble in play. It'd be a tough call. Do you just discard 2 Sobbles? Do you lose that pivot of the Mew for the rest of the game? What would Rahul even do? Well, maybe the choice would be made a little bit easier now that Tool Scrapper's been played on that air balloon.
It does have the Fog Crystal, but I think this hand is looking pretty lackluster for Daniel. I don't think there's a way to get any Whimsicott V-Star or a Bibarel anywhere. Does at least have the Fog Crystal to find the Psychic Energy, but that Cotton Guard, I mean, it reduces by 30, so you're not going to be knocked out.
But it's not quite knocking out the Hoopa, right?
Yeah, so you're also not knocking out the Hoopa, but I guess you also have Fluff gets in the way. That's a funny attack name. I like that.
Fluff gets in the way.
But prevents a basic, that basic from attacking. If it had an effect that said prevent all damage done to it by basic Pokemon, that would be a lot better. But the fact that it only affects that single Pokemon is what kind of makes that interesting. But we do see, it looks like, considering where to put this energy down, does have Quick Ball, though, does also play Crobat. It sort of slips my mind that Crobat is played. Sort of understands at this point, I have to put this Crobat down. That could be a big opening here for Rahul, especially as a low HP 2-prize Pokemon that could be knocked out. We saw that sort of be the struggle at some point when that Whimsicott came up.
Yeah, for the Crobat to matter, Rahul is going to have to put the Rapid Strike Urshifu in play. That's a decent hit there on the Crushing Hammer, gets rid of the Darkness Energy on the active, though. You're planning to knock it out this turn. So not the biggest deal, but it does thin 1 more card out of the hand, so it makes sense to play it. Now just looking for the V-Star. Was there a V-Star in that hand?
I don't think I saw anything right off the bat. Did find it looks like a Marnie off of that. Or it looks like Avery. Actually found the Avery there, it looks like.
Okay.
So potentially is going to have to play that to dig and draw 3 cards. Again, you have a lot of outs. If you find an Ultra Ball, you're going to go ahead and find the Whimsicott V-Star. But it also means that finding Bibarel is another thing.
Chooses to
and
play
actually
Marnie.
Is going to just go ahead and play Marnie. They look very similar. They're both standing behind a corridor. So it could have been a Marnie. I could have mistakenly seen the wrong card. But I think
this gets you more cards, and Daniel just really
yeah.
wants to find the Whimsicott, get this lock up, and take a knockout as well.
Yeah, no Whimsicott V-Star right away. Did just find the Bibarel. Looks like there is an air balloon potentially in hand as well. Has Fog Crystal too to maybe find another Whimsicott. Is actually going to go ahead and read it and say, oh, Fluff gets in the way is pretty powerful.
Yeah. It was like, all right, you are obviously digging for your Whimsicott. You have not found it yet, so let's just figure out what exactly Whimsicott V does.
Yeah, it does find the air balloon. Going to give that Barrel free retreat, and it looks like just going to go ahead and fail the Fog Crystal, or potentially grab out another Whimsicott, but I feel at that point, you're just going to be going through these 3 Whimsicott for the game. There's no reason to limit yourself a bench spot that could be a Bidoof the following turn, or even this turn if you find it. Obviously, you'd like to find that V-Star instead, but time takes its course, right? Things happen. So looks like we are going to see, it looks like the 2 cards left in the hand, I believe one of those is the Boss's Orders. So it's a big 3 cards here off this Whimsicott. We'll see exactly what this finds. Do we see the Whimsicott V-Star? And there it is. The Ultra Ball will guarantee it. Going to go ahead and get rid of the Psychic Energy, and I did see Avery there in that hand, so he does have that as a potential option for the following turn. But the big key piece here, found the V-Star, is going to get this lock off and put pressure on the Rahul.
Gets rid of Boss's Orders, a pretty painful card to lose. But in this matchup, based on how Rahul played game 1, you're pretty much always just knocking out what's ever active. You don't really care about having to Boss's Order something, so not too big of a deal. Trickwind takes a KO, and now Rahul is unable to play any special energies or Pokemon tool cards from his hand.
Yeah, and interesting to note as well, I sort of glanced over it, the air balloon did get tool scrappered away. So this Mew now no longer has a consistent way to pivot out. So instead of knocking out, that's sort of his way of respecting the air balloon, is the tool scrapper, which I believe is a very solid card to bring this weekend, because there are a lot of very strong tool cards like Big Charm and even the air balloon, as we do see the level ball get played, is going to grab the Drizzile. This is going to open up options. It looks like even considering finding another level ball to chain into another Drizzile really prioritizes getting these out into play and wants to find that Cynthia's Ambition. Makes me question why the level ball was grabbed for the Drizzile, but I have to imagine it has something to do with a potential Inteleon into scoop up net play going down, and wants to guarantee that for the following.
Yeah, probably wants to set up some sort of play with multiple quick shootings potentially, or multiple big shady dealings, and just thin a little bit more through the deck, because you need to find a pretty good set of 4 cards off of Cynthia's Ambition, and getting 4 is really just not that much compared to what you can usually expect to find from Cynthia's Ambition, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of math in my head of where Choice Belt could be pretty relevant here. If you hit with the Hoopa for 90 and it gets knocked out, that means that Fiery Wrath will be dealing 120 damage. So you're actually 10 short with the Choice Belt, but an Inteleon ping would set the math up for a knockout onto that. So maybe that's what Rahul is thinking. I find the Choice Belt down the line, I get a ping with my Inteleon, and I can set math up. And this is a great hand here off of the Cynthia. It's got a bunch of dark energy to work with for a Moltres the following turn. Can get that energy back with the Training Cord, but actually just has to go ahead and pass the turnover. Was unable to find something like the Moltres to apply any sort of pressure. You'd only be dealing 70 damage anyways, and you'd be losing it. But
I think you want to hold off on using your Moltres if you're just hitting for that amount. You got to at least be doing 120, because it just gets knocked out right away. So makes sense from Rahul to not really play to that, I feel like. Does get the Passimian down. Passimian, I wonder if it's meant to just be something to let get KO'd potentially, just kind of feed a prize card to Daniel so that your Fiery Wrath will do more damage later on. That could be what Rahul's going with.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering, is why did this get committed to the bench slot necessarily, but again, there has to be a reason that Rahul played that down, especially when you're ending your turn. You're not thinning for anything. You're not trying to draw more cards off of Industrious and Scissors. You kind of just are playing it down, but it looks like there is the Avery coming into play.
Oh, Rahul was just prepping for the Avery. Just wanted to thin the Passimian out. Yeah, that's what it was. It works out all in the end. But that path to the peak, potentially coming down. Daniel debating, should I use this first?
Yeah, it'd be nice to get an energy for free, right? So looks like eyeing it up.
Doesn't need it, though.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so say, look, I'm doing my thing with Trickwind, right? I don't need to do anything else. And
all set up?
Yeah, I'm all set up. I'm chilling. I'm all good. Looks like there's an Evolution Incense in hand, so can grab another Whimsicott V-Star and put that into play.
We know Rahul prized the second copy of Training Court, and it was at the top of the prize cards.
Yeah.
Unless Rahul plays Peonia at some point in this game, this path to the peak should stick in play.
Yeah, absolutely, as we do see Ultra Ball discarding both Fan of Waves, seeing that it is not going to be a very playable card in this spot.
Nope.
Looks like grabbing a Whimsicott V-Star will get that into play. Also has the Evolution Incense, but I believe that Bidoof came down this turn, so we'll not be able to get that up and evolved. And it's just going to be a Trickwind. Daniel's going to go on to 4 prizes. We are now 10 minutes remaining left in this round. Things are looking very strong for Daniel to either close out this game or if this game doesn't finish at all, he will be the victor after 3 turns.
At this point, I think that this match is either going to conclude with Daniel winning or it being a tie. There's just no way that the pace these games have gone that Rahul would be able to finish a 3rd game. Rahul would have to win this game in the next, 3 turns, which is just realistically not going to happen.
Yeah, Evolution Incense is a start to something at least. It's going to be able to Shady Dealings, has the Scoop Up Net already in hand, can guarantee the quick ball for the Moltres. You're now hitting for 120 damage, but again, nowhere near getting that one-hit KO onto that Whimsicott.
Shady Dealings finds a quick ball, can get one other trainer card from the deck. I guess if there's nothing better to play, could be a decent turn to Peonia, and that could mean a training court gets grabbed.
Yeah, looks like eyeing up that Peonia as well, understands that there are some good cards in the prizes to try to get out. And this is where things are going to get a little tricky, especially with that training court being at the top.
Yeah, Rahul knows there's a bunch of Drizzles in the prizes. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you don't want in there,
right.
Obviously. So we're just going to see if the Peonia gets played first, and then the quick ball is played after. As here we go, going over to the prize cards. Peonia is going to go ahead and take the bottom 3, and
it was a Drizzile, Energy Search, and a basic Darkness.
Yeah, I feel like the Choice Belt and the Training Court may be actually the 2 best cards in the prizes for damage modifiers and setting up.
Yep, not the ones that Rahul was able to find.
Yeah, you can't even grab those, right? So it looks like valuing that the Energy Search and the Evolution Incense are not needed. I assume we'll see probably, the Drizzile as well is going to go back. You have the line you need, especially after essentially one of your lines is gone because it was forced to be discarded off of that Avery as well. So it does have options. And that is what is always important in the trading card game for Pokemon, as we do see the Scoop Up Net before going into an attacking Pokemon, which makes me think there's maybe another Scoop Up Net going into play, or we will be seeing some sort of a set-up turn with leaving the Sobble in the active, as we actually see the Dark Energy get discarded. Sort of what costs Rahul a little bit later with getting rid of too many of these energy cards, especially when you're losing your attackers, maybe just having no other cards to be able to discard.
I think in this match, Rahul's going to be able to play to multiple Claras, which is something he wasn't able to do since Palpad got discarded super early in game number 1. So losing the energies is obviously not the best, but you don't mind it too much if there's other really important resources in your hand.
Absolutely, as it looks like we are going to see the Moltres most likely come down. And nope, actually just going to go ahead and pass over, and now you're off the prize mapping that you need, it feels like. So it looks like Daniel's just kind of running away with this game, showing us what Whimsicott V-Star can do, what the little fluff ball can do for sure, as EXP share as well. I like that inclusion in this deck. It allows you to stay up to pace. We've seen some decks sort of just rely off of Raihan to keep themselves paced into the game, but EXP share is a good option that avoids that as well. As it looks like considering throwing it down, does at least have the energies on both of the benched Whimsicott. And, I mean, this decision isn't as relevant. They both already have the basic Psychic, so they need the double Turbo Energy to attack. They could technically attack with 3 Psychic as well for non-reduced damage, but, again, the math is not extremely relevant in this situation, as it looks like eyeing up an Industrious and Scissors to draw into a few more cards. Eyeing through everything, making sure the options are there, as that will be the choice. Industrious and Scissors going to go ahead and draw up to 5. Giving Daniel even more options to work with this turn.
5 cards to work with. What does Daniel have? We know that it's going to end with a Trick Wind, but is there anything else able to be set up? Normally, Daniel, I feel like, is digging for Crushing Hammers and Fan of Waves and things like that with this deck, depending on what the opponent has done. But it's just not necessary in this matchup, and not with the way Rahul is playing this game either.
Absolutely not. And you see the inability to play down these tools consistently, and the fact that you also are just energy locked out of the game from your main energy and your main attacker. I mean, your main attacker anyways is Psychic weak, so it's not the best in this matchup, but even on something like the Medicham, it could be relevant. So unfortunately, things are sort of closing in for Rahul, as we will see a knockout on the Sobble. Daniel
has the Inteleon in hand, we know, can set up a Scoop Up Net play, can set up the Galarian Moltres, and get in with a pretty sizable hit, dealing 170 damage, much more respectable than what the last couple of turns would have done.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Rahul showed us that there are routes when there seem to not be at the end of the game. So it still is possible. You can maybe, there's a world where you like buy yourself a turn by bringing up something that can't retreat or can't pivot out. But I feel like I'm still reaching when it comes to these options to be able to.
If Rahul could have set up with the choice belt a play to Boss's Orders, a Crobat, or a Whimsicott V this turn, and use the Fiery Wrath with that, that would have been really strong. But we know that wasn't available to Rahul since that choice belt is in the prize cards, because that would have given Rahul 2 prizes here, and now once something gets knocked out, Fiery Wrath will be powered up more and more later on in the game.
Yeah, hitting for 170 damage. Even earlier with 120 damage, you could have set math up with Inteleon
exactly.
and the choice belt to take the prize. I think that turn would have been the best turn to take it, but it's all out the window at this point. It just happens sometimes. The Pokemon trading card game, the cards you need are not where you need them. The prize cards are unforgiving and relentless, as we do see. At minimum, now is going to be able to apply pressure as Crobat. And this could be a smart play to actually not take the knockout onto this, leave it and force the pivoting option to be there, and then finish it off with an Inteleon Ping.
Yeah, this will work out nicely, actually, I feel like. Though Daniel could play around this by getting a Boss's Orders on the Drizzile, but outside of that, there's no way to heal this Crobat. So this could be stuck up here for a turn, and this could be a path for Rahul to get back into this game. What does Daniel have access to? Could this really be a good opening?
Yeah, already eyeing up the Psychic Energy makes you think there's something like an ordinary rod in that hand.
Yeah.
Maybe put it back into the deck. Also already has the air balloons, so
that'll work.
I think Rahul understanding every time a card like this gets played, the options to win this game start to narrow in more and more. Crobat will now be able to retreat into a Whimsicott, and that is going to be another tricky wind. The attack Rahul has been hearing all game, shutting him out of his options, has been putting in so much work for Daniel. This variant, just as we've been watching it through these 2 games, has shown itself to be strong. It's not a fully established and respected archetype for this event, but it feels solid watching it. And it seems like the list itself had been worked on and had time been put into it.
Something that's interesting is that since Rahul played Peonia when he had 5 prize cards remaining, Rahul knows what all 5 of the prize cards are, because he knows that Training Court and Choice Belt were prized, and he didn't see them off the Peonia. So those are the top 2 prizes. So what Rahul can do now is use Quick Shooting, deal 20 damage to this Crobat, which would knock it out. Rahul gets 2 prizes during his turn, and then can potentially take the Choice Belt if he wants to, can potentially take the Training Court if he wants to, and make plays based off of that.
And yeah,
but, this is the play. Yeah, that's not great for Rahul.
And there's a Crushing Hammer as well. It's the heads.
Why
2 for
not,
2.
right?
Hammer go Burr for sure, and that's just one more piece Rahul's got to find. It looks like it already has the energy in hand, so it's not a big deal, but I think more so.
But it's a resource that's down, and you have to Clara it back or Raihan it back into play. Makes things a little awkward.
Yeah, it is less and less options every time something like that happens, as Daniel's still on with his turn, drawing cards, played Boss's Orders to bring up that Drizzile. Now takes off that line of play for this turn to take 2 prizes with something like a Quick Shooting Inteleon. Daniel understanding that, can take this knockout, has some more cards like the Experience Share to put onto the Whimsicott V, and things are looking extra solid right now. Brings it up at the active.
Oh, I wonder if Rahul could do a Yoga Loop play with a Raihan. A basic energy and a Raihan could lead to Yoga Looping the Crobat V for 2 prize cards. Nope, just kidding, it's discarded.
Yeah, it seems that and yeah, at that point, your opponent's now at 2 prize cards remaining, right? So you kind of get yourself in this.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
It's you get your extra turn, but you can't take 5. You can't take 5 prizes in a single turn. I mean, technically, I guess it's possible.
Well, it depends on how many boss.
flow.
I think Daniel's used 2 boss, and you have to make a play depending on thinking that Daniel might only have those 2 copies, right?
And I have to know the exact ruling on this, but I believe you actually get around Tricky Wind if you take the extra turn with Yoga Loop, because I believe Tricky Wind's text says during your opponent's next turn.
And it's a different turn,
and
exactly.
It's technically your turn, but your second turn for that matter.
Exactly.
So, however, we are going to see the Shady Dealings look like. Is eyeing up the Palpad. I don't think the Palpad has been played yet. It's kind of
he just played it. Yeah, he played it to get the boss, and now got the boss off the Shady Dealings. And we'll have the option to Boss's Orders bring up the Whimsicott V, take a knockout on it, and that Crobat is not going to get healed, and Quick Shooting Intellion is ready to go in the hand. And we know Daniel actually does not have another Boss's Orders.
Yeah, actually, this is still possible. This is very possible now because of this. And the only problem necessarily is a lot of your Sopples are gone because the Drizziles have been picked out. But
and
not evolving that is a big miss here for Daniel. Did have at least the other two, so it's not the end of the world. And actually, we'll see the first interaction here with Experience Share to be able to take this here. As Rahul immediately going to go ahead and grab those top 2 prize cards.
Those are the 2 key prizes.
Choice Belt. Yeah, I would say Choice Belt at this point when... well,
I think the one Rahul really needed was the training court. And
he had to grab both of them regardless, right? Yeah.
He's like, I know that I need the training court, so I'm taking these top 2 because one of them is training court.
I cannot miss it. There is no way that this is not a training court unless I looked over something. But Rahul smartly taking the top 2 prize cards. Things still here are a little sketchy. However, there is the Inteleon in hand already and the training court. However, and that actually is the pieces needed because you can grab Scoop Up Net and Clara potentially if the Clara has not already been played. If it's already played, then it isn't a possibility, but I don't think I have seen it. This is what it's going to come down to. It looks like we are going to see the double Turbo Energy come down onto this Whimsicott V-Star, the hyper rare Whimsicott V-Star. It's got a whole bunch of mixed matching arts to give us a little bit of a loop, but that is indeed a Whimsicott V-Star.
Yep. Daniel definitely wants to play Marnie this turn, and yeah, right away, Marnie gets played, and those great cards Rahul had in hand go to the bottom of the deck. Rahul really hoping to see either Ultra Ball or Evolution Incense now off of just 4 cards.
Marnie sealed out the last game. We'll see exactly what that is.
Clara's not bad. You'll be able to send up Mew here, so you still can make it happen, but that hand is not great. That's a lot of Pokemon that you don't want to put in play, the Urshifus and the VMAX.
Yeah, and I realized you need to evolve this Drizzile into a Quick Shooting in order to take this game, in order to win this game. Otherwise, it's not possible. Which is
because you have to take
unfortunate. I was like, oh,
3 prizes
for
this
the
turn.
pieces. I was like, no, yeah, the Crobat still is alive at the end of the turn, so... I feel like maybe if the Choice Belt was not prized and was found that turn, that we were in a completely different scenario here going into this end game, this last turn for both players at this point. As time is run out on our thing, and it looks like we'll hopefully have confirmation on who is turn 0, who is turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. But at this point, if you're Daniel, the worst that happens in this case is you come out away with a tie. You're still in a great spot for Rahul trying to battle out for that 1 match point. But because of the lack of options, the lack of resources here, so yeah, it looks like we're getting clarification. So Daniel looks like will be turn 0. No attack has been announced yet. Rahul turn 1, Daniel turn 2, and Rahul will be turn 3. So Rahul's got 2 turns to make it work, but at this point, the game is ending before turns expire.
Yeah,
for sure. There's a Whimsicott's powered up on the side, and otherwise Rahul will have to take this knockout in combination with an Inteleon ping. So this is where things are going to get exciting.
Oh, actually uses the Whimsicott V-Star Fluff Ball Star and is going to target the Drizzile, leaving the Moltres powered up in the active spot.
That is a big-time play.
Is Rahul not just Fiery Wrath for 270 now? But it takes, with 3 prizes now because there's no Drizzile to close the game out.
Yeah, but by doing this play now, you open up the option for Rapid Strike Energy to come down. We know 2 have been discarded, but now, because Claro is played, can grab back the Medicham.
Oh, Rahul's just going to scoop it up.
Oh, no, I guess
doesn't
didn't
have the pieces.
Oh,
could have Yoga Looped that turn and then gone into the Fiery Wrath. The play was theoretically there. It would have been a lot of cards, though. Rahul can't quite pull it off, and Daniel Lynch wins the match to move ahead. 6 wins now, with 1 loss to the record. Very good spot. Congratulations to Daniel.
And it is done with Whimsicott.
It is done with Whimsicott. That's right.
I love to see these archetypes we don't really have a full grasp on coming into these events do well. There's always that special deck that sort of breaks through at these events and surprises people. And it is a great surprise factor for this Whimsicott. And I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him throughout. Advancing to 6-1 should be locked to the point. Even if you lose your next match, I'm sure we'll either decide based off of maybe your matchup or what you're playing against to either maybe take an intentional draw or, again, just try and play it out. But, again, congratulations to Daniel. Moving ahead, going in with 6-1, showing us he's got it in him. And, again, Rahul still not out of it, moving to 5-2. We'll be playing that winning in, essentially, next round. You're now on elimination rounds for the next